You've reached call in Mockery.
Hey guys, hey.
Oh, could you redo that? I want to get in on this, and I hope that our fans get in on it too.
No, now I'm forcing it.
Yeah. Well, it was fun while it lasted. Hey guys, hey. This is. I was about to say something else.
Why?
Something else we were talking about.
Don't.
No, I would never. This is Call in Mockery. This is the show where you call and
Yes.
we mock.
Yep, every week we here at Call in Mockery listen to the voicemails that you send to us. That's what this show is primarily, a call-in show.
Mm-hmm.
You call in, you ask for advice, you tell us a factoid to try to correct the record about something we talked about last week.
Think of it as an opinion line where people write into the paper.
Yeah, it's
You
an ask Aubrey
What?
or whatever. It's an ask Aubrey. It's an ask Aubrey, but not Aubrey. Not
No.
not the one that's getting thrown around by Kendrick Lamar. Oh, he hits him with this. Oh, he hits him with that. I hate the way that you look, the way that you talk, the way that you texted Millie Bobby Brown when she was little, the way that you.
And he's like, Kendrick. And then we're all like, this is so fun for us to listen to.
We just like that they're not liking each other.
And isn't that kind of sad about our...
Yes.
We don't...
It's awesome. It's awesome, and we like that Kendrick messed up and he called John Lovitz John
Haley
Krakow
Joel
or something.
Called Haley Joel Osment.
Joel Osteen.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, anyway.
We hope you know what we're talking about. And if you don't, you're just going to remain like the famous Lindoff show, Lost.
Lindelof.
Yeah.
But no, of course, we're talking about the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef, and we're going to talk about that exclusively for the next hour or so. But first, we have to...
They sent us... So Liquid Death
Yeah.
sent us... They said, we know you're going to be talking about this.
Yeah.
I think the last Drake one to come out was Meet the Grams.
Yes.
So I was hoping for like a graham cracker pun.
That would be
Like,
awesome.
which for Liquid Death would be like Graham.
It'd be like Graham Greens.
Graham Reaper.
Oh, that's good.
So
I was gonna kind of come up with like Graham Greene's Ministry of Fear, the sort of Graham Greene, the famous novelist of entertainment and more literary fare. He wrote sort of a horror. One of his kind of only horror books was called Ministry of Fear. So maybe they could go that route.
yeah, they could do. We have always lived in the graham cracker, just like Shirley Jackson's. We've always lived in the castle.
Yeah.
So you could go that route with it, and maybe it's like a picture of a graham cracker house. You have to do a little more thinking with that one.
That would be awesome. Well, I wonder what these are.
Yeah. So let's get these. These are the hefty boys. They've kind of phased out the smaller cans completely.
Yeah.
So
thank
we're
God.
basically all just sticking with the 19.6 ounce big boys.
and good because I like to be walking around with this and like the police, the dirty rotten scoundrels in the blue
zoink, oink.
shirts. They kind of do a double take because they think you've got a tall boy.
Yeah.
You're walking around, and this isn't like. I don't know, say Savannah or Charleston or one of these places where you can just walk around with an open container drinking on the streets like a hooligan shenanigan, no good ne'er-do-well. No, this is a place with structure. You can't do that. So the POs, police officers, POSs, police officers, they see a tall boy and they say, "Hey, you get me one."
You know what I like to do with this? And first of all, I like to say these new mics, I feel like I can't hear the comedy as well. These mics sound less funny to me.
Yeah. What is that?
I don't know. But what I was going to say was
Surely that's not true.
what I'll do is I'll take my Big Liquid Death and I'll actually put it in a paper bag. Because this gets the cops. They are just so like that's automatically.
Yeah.
He's got a tall boy in it. He's got a Cayman Jack in there. Like,
Yeah.
and you know they're thinking that. And so they'll come up to me and I'll start recording them because they're like, take the can out of the bag. And I'll go, who says I have to?
Yeah.
And I'm recording them and they go, it's the law. And I go, no, it's not. Have you read the law? And then I'll put on screen when I put this online, like, I'm a law professor. I'm showing you that the police don't know the law.
I am a legal law professor. The police oftentimes do not know the legal professor law.
I'm a law professor. Sometimes the police don't know the law. I pick a voice for each video, the AI voice, and then I'm like, I don't have to take the can out. I waste a good 15 minutes of their time. They're saying they're going to detain me, I finally take the can out. The can looks like it's,
It's scary.
that's scary. So they're like, okay, you're going downtown. I go, actually, it's just water.
I say, what?
This whole thing. I go, it's actually liquid death. I'm actually murdering. No.
No.
Because they go for their...
They
Yeah.
unbuckle their... What?
And I go for mine, but I just have the the thing that has coins in it. So I spit out 2 pennies.
Penny for your thoughts.
And I waste a good 30 minutes of their time.
That's 30 more minutes. Because then they're like, well, now we got to get the dog out.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, now I'm putting you under arrest.
Yeah. They say canine come a sniffing. So it's just a big thing for the police to just waste their time.
But then finally, after all that, you say liquid death. It's actually good. It's actually better water, if better for you and the environment.
Aluminum can.
And then he turns, or she turns to the camera and says, I think I got to try some of this.
Yeah.
And the whole hour and a half affair was actually an advertisement for liquid death, just like our podcast here.
We love liquid death. We're ready to crack them open. Let's see what we've got here. Looking at these new flavors. Oh, this is a new one, but it's not exactly what I thought.
Oh.
This one is convicted melon.
Yeah, mine's unparallelable.
Goodness. The way the spritz kind of comes out and hits your nose,
Yeah.
right?
It's
These schnozberries have schnozberries.
What? It's kind of thick, but also gentle, the bubbles. I don't know if anyone's ever said that. But, so we have liquid death. We love our sponsor.
Hey, man, I heard that before.
Joey,
Yeah.
tell the people who gave us a call.
We got a call 319 had whip 1. That's 319 HAD WIP1. If you can't remember that, think about GAD and work in progress, because he's always getting ready for the next thing. He's always promising Moranis. Let me pull this up because we got a call this week, so we'd love to hear from our guests. By the way, this one, we will bleep it, but this does have some salty language. So if you're one of our younger viewers or you have a younger viewer, crank this down for a second.
Yep.
Hey, you listen here, you little f***ing I'm a God-fearing patriot, and I'll show you the wrath before hell if you touch our sacred soils. And I hope you... Oh, sorry, I must have called the wrong mnemonic phone number.
Oh.
Your mnemonic number is GadWipe1, and I was trying to reach Ice This One, which mnemonically shakes me to my God-fearing patriot core, as Ice This did not win.
Hold on. I think there's a little more to that.
Anyways, have a great day. And I'm excited for Frozen 3.
Oh,
God.
God. What he? Okay, so this patriot confused our number with Ice This.
Or Ice Is. I think it was ISIS won.
I hate to do this, but caller, if you're listening, you're gonna have to call us back. Tell us if it was ICE this or ISIS. Now, of course, what he was getting at is ISIS won,
Yeah.
and he hates just the thought of that.
Well, he's a God-fearing patriot, he said.
Well, of course, and you can tell it just by his voice alone.
So we don't want... Oh, so I think... So let's see. GAD would be ICE. ICE.
Checks out, of course.
And then... So that's had. And then whip W. Now, I don't know WIP.
ICE. So, ICE, I...
But the W in whip, there's W, X, and Y. So ice would be ice, yes.
ICE one.
So I think he might have confused GAD whip one for ice, yes, and thought it was ISIS.
ICS one. I'm sorry. And caller, we do apologize, of course, for confusing a patriot like you. These days, it's hard because the patriots in our country are so intellectually capable. It's hard to confuse them. That oftentimes people don't even try anymore.
Right.
So I guess it's kind of good that we are still able to confuse the true patriots in our country because you want to keep them on their toes. They know about JFK coming back. They know about
Salt life.
They know about all these things that we've tried to keep secret for so long. So this is just one more little chess move in the centuries long game that we've played against the Patriots.
And you might think, the Patriots are
Tom Brady,
yes,
Julian Edelman.
And we could talk about that for 3 hours. We could talk about Brady for 3 hours. I'll be honest. But you might think what we're doing is against the Patriots. It's against... No. We want to keep them on their toes so that they are ahead of the game.
Yeah.
You never want your team, right? You never want your Patriots to be behind the 8 ball of the Patriots of another company.
Right.
Which is what countries are these days. We're just countries.
They're all bought and sold.
I might as well be the flag might as well be blue with little yellow things on it. The Walmart flag,
Yeah, it's sick what they've done.
Now, to answer your last part, we cannot wait for. Speaking of GAD,
by God, we're
by God,
we're jonesing for GAD.
We are Olafing just thinking about
Olaf.
Frozen 3.
Yeah.
Frozen 3 comes out in 2026, so you've got some time to wait.
There's a little extra time you can goon yourself for a while there, pal. But
exciting thing about it is it comes out on November 25th, which is my birthday. So put this on your calendar right now, all you simmers. November 25th, 2026, we're going to Frozen 3 together.
All of us.
We're getting the simmers together.
11, 25, 26. Mark the calendar now. Do it.
Now, I'm going to warn you right now. You're all going to be getting seats in front of us because I don't need to be worried about what's happening behind my back the whole time.
Yeah.
We're at the back of the theater with the wall behind us, just so we know. And we're going to go to one of those theaters where there's exit doors on the back, too.
Yeah.
Because I don't need to. I'm going to come in from the back. You don't look at us. And we're going to exit from the back before the movie's over.
Like Banksy.
Yeah.
Exit through the back.
Exit through the gift shop. And by the way, if you buy my painting, it's going to shred itself. And that actually makes it worth more. Banksy's painting was bought for $1.2 million at auction, and right after it sold, it shredded itself. That actually makes it more artistic. Pasty British.
I like having
Banksy.
everyone sit in front of me because I like to think it looks like the Mystery Science 3000 guys are sitting in front of me. That's the only reason. I'm not worried about security.
Are you still going? You like to go to the theaters where they don't have stadium seating?
Yeah, I like the theater to be sloped back, like like the old stage. Before stadium seating, the stage was actually sloped, so you could see. That's why they say upstage and downstage. It's actually it reverts back to that sort of pre stadium seating, where the stage itself was sloped. So I like to go to a theater where the screen is sloped and I'm just sitting on the ground. We have to talk about some other stuff.
Yeah, we do, just because the episode is.
It's going well. I think it is the microphones. There's an issue. We have new microphones. Hopefully you can hear the difference. Hopefully we sound a little better.
And I think I think with all these podcasts that are hosted by comedians, as they get more money and all this stuff, they start doing like, we have a vodka or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so you're cool now. I like that you're not cool. That's what I like about comedians. Yes.
Oh. Yeah.
But then they got the expensive microphones and everything sounds a little too polished. We're not trying to get there. We want our stuff to be usable, but we still want the comedy to come through. And I'm starting to feel like
these mics are zapping the comm.
Okay, so we're going to be discussing a very large movie that came out.
Yes.
And so I got us a little something.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
It is a poster for the re-release of Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, back on the big screen.
Yes.
His greatest battle begins.
And people say that this is one of the best Spider-Man movies, and I agree.
I've never seen it. And so to cover up that poster, because I've never seen it, I just realized we've got Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Look at that. That's sick.
Look at that. 2024. That's the window.
It's the window. It's the symbol of Ope.
So that's going to go right here. And this is nice thick stock.
That is
stock.
thick
so that's
stock.
gonna stay. And there's one for you.
Yes.
And then there's one for me.
Yeah. I wish Caesar were still here to sign it for me.
Yeah. But of course, he died. Early access screening. I just think they had some leftovers.
I was going to say, you didn't go to the early access.
So why don't we get into this?
Let's get into the apes.
First of all, we need to give you some background. If you haven't seen the Planet of the Apes trilogy from 2011 to 2017, 18? 17,
I think, yeah.
You are doing yourself one of the biggest disservices to your brain and your heart that you can do.
Yeah.
They are three of my favorite films of all time.
It seems crazy to say that, but it's true. It's true because you go back and you rewatch it and you say, they can't be as good as I remember. They are. They're actually better. Yeah.
The first one is, it's the most dated. There's Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and this is confusing too because the names don't mean anything. But neither did the original 5.
I have some information about the original 5.
Do you want to spill that tea right now? Or are you going to leave us gooning?
I watched all of those.
Oh my God.
I've been in apes mode, baby.
I almost watched the original last night and then... So you watched Planet of the Apes, Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Yep.
Beware. Is it Beware the Planet of the Apes?
No, that's like a comic book or something.
Okay.
It's Escape from Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, okay.
Which is the one where they go to the 1970s.
Yeah, she's trying on clothes and stuff.
And it's actually the best one. And then Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, and then Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
Now, here's my history with Planet of the Apes. I saw the Mark Wahlberg one, the Tim Burton one, and I was in love with the idea of apes being smart and humans being animals. And I know that movie's bad, according to everyone, but as a kid watching it, I said, this is awesome. So we went home and I was shown all of these original movies. And at the time, they're all just kind of a blur to me. The first one is iconic, of course, with the ending. If you don't know, you do know.
Right.
It's one of those where you're like, oh, that's what they were talking about in, I don't know, Young Sheldon. Just everything has referenced it.
Yeah.
But it is great. When you watch it, you're like, God, that does hit.
And you go, that's kind of a Twilight Zone-esque ending. Who wrote it? Sterling.
But then you go, especially as a kid, you watch the other ones and you're just like, what's happening? Is how I remember it.
I had that with the Wahlberg one. I knew about the original.
Yeah.
And I knew the original film. And then it was like, oh, they're redoing it. And that was at a time in my life where I wasn't completely cynical about everything. And you go, Tim Burton's making Planet of the Apes. And I kind of know what that is. I found the whole thing confusing.
Yeah.
Because they have to... I haven't watched it since then.
Me neither.
So I'd like to go back and watch it. Because I think the thing is... he couldn't do the same thing because we all know the ending.
Yeah.
Like, you know what Planet of the Apes is now.
Yeah.
So it kind of has to go at it from a different angle.
Yeah, it's hard. It would be hard to redo one of the more iconic sort of things ever.
I'm still confused by the ending. I think I have to go. It's kind of made fun of now with the Abe Lincoln.
Uh-huh. I just remember when I saw that as a kid, I was like it worked for me.
I just didn't. I was like, so it was one. I was like, so their history is ours, but different. There was a little. I don't remember exactly what.
So that's what's interesting because now having watched all 5 originals, they are like some are better than the others. Number 1 is great. Number 2 is fine. 3 is great. 4 is good. And the final one is just not very good. But they're all doing something interesting. And they all are kind of the big story is there is time travel involved. And it is sort of history is a cyclical beast that will, no matter man or ape, our sort of hubris will always be the death of us, basically. And so it's really interesting. And I think Tim Burton, now that I have watched those, was maybe trying to distill all of it into one. But again, I haven't rewatched it. I just watched a YouTube video about it and said, yeah, I guess it is kind of bad. But as a kid, I liked it. So anyway, but yes, these movies come out now. The Rise, The Dawn, the War for, and The Kingdom. And aren't these supposed to be prequels to the original trilogy or the original saga?
Yeah.
That's what's crazy. Because they do line up in a way, but then otherwise you're like, no.
Well, and we should, by the way, at this point, if you're coming in and it's, first of all, the episode has just started with us talking about Planet of the Apes because we had to cut a bunch of stuff to make time for this. There might be some Kingdom spoilers.
We might
I'm just
have
going
to
say that. We might have to. I was talking to someone else about these movies, and his idea was that he goes, well, he said he thought they were maybe going towards their own version of the original film. But I've always felt nothing they've done changes the original film, other than they eventually become, just because of the product of their time, they become humans in ape suits.
Yeah.
Like, they look different. They don't talk like they do in these, but I'm like, that's just a technology thing. But nothing has taken away what will eventually come with the original Planet of the Apes film. And that's what I always felt was fascinating. We talk about prequels and like the First Omen prequel, stuff like that, where you just go, what is the point of me watching this? Where nothing that led up to what the original is matters.
Yeah.
The lack of information about it actually makes it better.
Yeah.
Then there's things like the Star Wars prequel, which are interesting to show the corruption of power and sort of this mythos being created. That's what's cool about these, the trilogy, the Caesar trilogy.
Yeah.
You're seeing that ending is incredible of the first one when you find out, oh, this is Earth. In the future. They've been lost, and you just go, so what happened to do that? And you can leave it at that and go, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's that idea.
Yeah. I think if anything nothing needs a prequel, but if anything does, these are the most interesting and most necessary.
Because you're again watching a civilization fall, become almost extinct, while another one rises to power as the dominant species.
Yeah.
Isn't that's like everything you want is the apocalypse story of humans, but the sci-fi rise of another, and them kind of, like you said, going through and repeating our mistakes, or you see them falling into those patterns, or how they learn.
So the only thing, well, not the only thing, there's a few things. I think these lead up to the first one perfectly. The stuff that happens after the first one is when it's like, well, these aren't even in the same universe.
Would you say the first one is like the canon one? Like with the ones after it, I don't think they were the same filmmakers. It was sort of
I think they were more of like, but they do work together,
right,
pretty well.
But it gets messy, which I think with Kingdom is also a problem, where the more questions it answers and the closer it gets to the new one, the ending certainly opens up more questions, and you say, well, here's another whole trilogy probably. Yeah. Because what has happened by the end of Kingdom does not line up with, from what I remember of the original Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's just get into it a little bit then, huh?
Let's just say quickly. So Rise, you see the start of the first ape that gets the ALZ 112. Caesar, who becomes known as Caesar. You see him get this treatment to try and fix one of the scientists' father's Alzheimer's. Cures him temporarily, but then ultimately makes people worse. Yep. And then got the crazy ending where you see the pilot that has the virus, I guess, fly to it's like the COVID thing you saw with COVID. He flies to another country, and then all his passengers just spread across the globe. Yep. And then the next one opens with that. Yeah. And you've got the humans in everything is overtaken by the apes. It's also, you're getting to see them become, like in the original, they're just talking like people. Yeah. And the craziest thing in the first one, which is the most dated and like the most, I think the Matt Reeves ones are the best. Yeah. But when you see Caesar finally say no, it's like I get goosebumps. Yeah. Just him gaining this like sentience and being able to articulate what he's feeling. Yeah. And then you see them kind of get that grow, and like more apes are being able to speak and stuff like that as they, as they multiply. And then by the end of the last one, Caesar has kind of fulfilled his destiny and he dies. Yeah. Sad, very sad.
But you're proud. Mm-hmm. Caesar is maybe my favorite character.
Andy Serkis, I think, is my favorite actor of all time.
He's so good. And
I was watching the behind the scenes for those and they're just on set in these crazy suits, but they're like crying and doing all this insane stuff.
And Bad Ape is there.
Steve Zahn should have. The fact no one got like any Academy Awards for this or anything is like crazy. It shows you how much people don't know.
Here's one quick thing I'll say about Dawn. Mm-hmm. I feel like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is what I wished Civil War was. As I was rewatching it this past couple weeks, I was like, because it is this sort of nuance, like a leader who wants to coexist with these people that look at you like you're animals because you are, but you're not anymore. And all of these different ways of thinking, trying to coexist, and then ultimately they can't because Koba. But I was like, because that you do have the big action set pieces, and Koba takes the tank and drives it through the city and whatever, and it's awesome. But you do get sort of the nuanced sort of socio-political stuff where I was like, God,
because that's what
just
you
watch
do
this.
Get with humans, where one side it's not all a hive mind. It's this group wanting one thing. All it takes is one of those people to undermine how they want to accomplish that.
And as you see in Battle for the Planet of the Apes, Caesar, yes, a new, different Caesar, who's also the leader, is betrayed by his little gorilla companion. It's interesting. There's a lot of parallels that do work throughout. If you are to take the whole thing as a cohesive whole, some stuff works, some stuff doesn't. Anyway,
Caesar perishes.
Caesar dies.
They're in sort of the promised land. Now, what Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the new one, does is it jumps forward several generations. It says 300 years, but it never says that in the movie.
Yeah. No, it says many generations
later, which is, I think, the smartest thing to do.
Absolutely.
Because then what you do is you have an even more interesting story of myth and basically religion.
Yeah.
I would say you've got you essentially have people writing the story of Jesus, but he's an ape named Caesar.
Yeah.
Which is just awesome.
Because as we'll see, some people use the name for bad and some people for good. The
moment in this film when, and we're going to get into it, so turn it off, listen to this later, but the bad group of apes come in, the gorilla group, and they are destroying this like peaceful village of apes, and he's about to kill one, and he says, "For Caesar!"
Yeah.
And you're just like, "Oh!" And the theater's like, "Oh!"
I literally turned to the woman with whom I live, who, because this is the only franchise, for some reason. What is that? It's the only one that she is as excited as me to go see. Is it just because they're always great?
I think so, because I watched it with the woman with whom I live. She had seen the first one. She was like, "Yeah, I saw it. I never really." And I was like, "We really should." I was like,
"They're so good."
I was like, "I need to watch them again before we go to the new one. Let's just watch them if you care to do that." And by the end of the second one, she's sobbing. The third one has destroyed her. And then we get to the new one that starts with him dying
again,
and having the funeral. And she's like, why? Like we just had sat through them. And then I made her go to the big theater and sit close so we could be in the apes' faces. But it is one of those like, oh, I get. And I had someone else I talked to where he told me one of the scenes from the second one was one of his favorite scenes of all time of any movie ever. And it's just one of those. It's like, because it is such a great story. Yeah. There's so much you can do with it. I think it's so exciting to see, and they do them right.
And they look so good. They look like real apes, Joey.
That's one of the craziest. Like, how is that not a real ape at some points? It's just insane to me, because then I see the Godzilla like X Kong trailer. But I'm like, why can't you make that gorilla look real?
Yeah.
I just saw a whole movie where it's like gorillas riding apes.
All of them are.
And then I watched the Planet of the Apes films.
It's just crazy. But okay. I think maybe too it has something to do with the fact, do we give it a little more grace because they're all animals? And there is something like, I'll watch people get shot and blown up all day long. Don't care.
But you see like Caesar get locked in a cage like an ape would, and you're just like, well, because you see humanity for like the monster it is to these innocent creatures.
Yeah.
And the way they play them, because they're so innocent, they are like animals that you would see and be like, that's cute.
Yeah.
And they play it so much, it's like in their body language how sad they are, and they can't speak, but and especially them, where there's also the thing of he's gaining a sentience and can't understand why he's being treated this way.
Yeah.
And he's got a little shirt on.
Yeah.
And I think it is that, because it's like, why are they treating him that way? And it's like, we would do this. This is all playing out.
This is all real.
Real.
Yeah.
Even in the third one with Woody Harrelson, where he's like, who did I kill that day? And he's like, my wife and my son. He's like, sorry, like, I was trying to kill you.
Yeah.
He's like, if you knew what I was going through, like, and he says all this stuff, and he's like, if your son was going to inherit your throne, I'm glad I killed him.
Yeah.
He's like, it's an act of war. But it's like that is what happens.
Yeah.
Between people, but you've got these apes that are little furry guys.
It
So
makes
you
it
do,
even
like,
worse. It makes it sadder. There is something to that. But yeah, I mean, the kingdom. So what do you think? Going into this, I'm worried because Caesar is who I want to be when I grow up. You have Maurice, Caesar's right-hand man, who is also the heart and soul of everyone watching.
Son will know who was father.
He's so good. He looks even more real than the other apes, who are also real looking. But you have all of this, and then smash cut to 300 years later. How am I going to care about another ape the way I care about Caesar?
That's my worry. Is my two or three things. My hopes are too high because you have the best trilogy.
Yeah.
It's like, what? There's Austin Powers, Toy Story, and this. Those are the three trilogies.
The three high water marks.
And yes, I'm not counting Toy Story 4. It's good, but it doesn't belong here.
It's fan fiction.
But then you also have I Want Caesar. And I've just sat through, they're all so kind of hard to watch. They're all so sad. Everything is so stressful.
Yeah.
And you go, but you've seen him kind of do it. You see him succeed by the end, and he's not there anymore. But what I liked, I said, okay, if we're going to do this, you've jumped far enough into the future where it's none of, you don't see Bad Ape, you don't see Maurice, you don't have any of them. It's like they have all at this point passed away.
Yes.
Okay, we're starting fresh. There is the worry that they're just going to be more CGI apes, and I don't care about them as much because I don't have that history of living with them.
Right.
And I have all these things in my head of like, okay, they're going to be playing with who Caesar was to them, and can they do it? It's not Matt Reeves, who I think when I watch his interviews about how passionate he was about, like, he's like, when I watched the first one, he even says the thing about when he says no, he's like, it's the craziest thing you can watch. He's like, I've never cared for any character in any movie the way I cared about Caesar in Rise of the Planet of the Apes. He was like, it's like the perfect thing, and he's like, I had to make them. And that's what you want. I think that's what, with the original Planet of the Apes, you have such a good idea that you can take from that and say, what were they trying to get at? How can we expand upon that in a way that touches upon modern society and brings in new ideas? So I go, well, who's this new little guy who wants to get his foot in the...
Mr. Ball wants to take his hand and put it on the apes.
We're going to do more apes. They got to love more apes.
So they immediately stick you in Eagle Clan with Noah and his friends. And basically by 10 seconds into it, I'm back in.
Yeah.
I said, oh, okay. Yeah.
And it is that they have to grab
care.
things with their little hands and their little feet.
I mean, the first 5 minutes is an Uncharted scene where they're just climbing up a thing. And I'm like, well, this is awesome. But
you have to get to the high nest, and you're just like, oh, yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do. And then they go for it, and he has to go get it, and he goes for a bigger, has to go get a different egg. It's just the way they build out the world, like introduce you to this new sort of lore, and then we're introduced to the Eagle Clan, and his dad's the Eagle Master or whatever.
And then right there, you're getting the kind of where they are in the evolution of humankind, where you go, okay, now they've established these tribes and they've established their own spirituality, and what they do, sort of, if you were to look at like different groups of Native Americans, and like each had their own spirituality and what they thought was important, and training eagles.
Yeah.
And like his dad humming to like knowing who they are. And you're just like,
and they have these rules that the leaders, I can't remember, the elders, I think they call them. The elders.
and that's the law.
That's the law. Like the lawgiver. In later movies. But and then he finds out later that even perhaps his own elder laws were arbitrary because he goes out and sees the world is completely different. They didn't know. They didn't know what else was out there. Everything is good in this movie because you find out the myth of Caesar is wrong and right.
You're getting different versions of it. You're getting for Caesar on both sides, right?
Yeah.
You're getting
Both sides.
You've got the little chimpanzee man. I cannot remember his name.
Raka.
No. Yeah, you're right.
That's an orangutan.
He's an orangutan. I'm sorry I said that. I meant the little orange orangutan. But he's got the little, they've gone back to the window motif. Just it just breaks your heart. But he's got it, and he's like, he taught us. And then the thing I was excited about was the books. He's like, humans, because everything the Eagle Clan knows about humans, and it's already starting to disappear.
Yeah.
Humans are already starting to disappear from the history of the
echoes.
world. Echoes. Awesome. And so he's like, humans used to be able to
Talk.
to talk, and they had these symbols that meant something to them.
Yeah.
And there's so much here we could learn, and they live side by side with apes. And he's kind of learning, the way it's just it's just too good.
It is really good. Now, I do have to say that, so he meets Raka, and he becomes a sort of Caesar follower as well, or at least is learning that, yes, ape does not kill ape. Ape together strong.
And that they've sort of, that the other clan has bastardized what Caesar stood for.
Yeah.
And that they should take out these, these other groups that, because they had this blanket that smelled like a human and they thought they were living. It's like, no, that's Caesar didn't want that. It's like they've taken it the completely wrong way.
Yeah.
In Raka's mind. And as we know as viewers, he's right.
He's right.
Man.
But then
We'll be right back after this.
then we meet Nova. It's always Nova.
It's always Nova. That's a little Han Solo moment for us. Han Solo. But we got Nova in War of the Planet of the Apes. It was
Yeah.
named after a car.
Yeah.
But that to me again is another thing that leads to the original Planet of the Apes, where he's saying, yes, there's a Nova in that film, but I believe it tracks that they kind of name these female humans Nova
Yeah.
as you would name someone Peter or Joe or something, like biblical names.
Yeah.
These are names from their history that they pass on.
Yeah.
And there was a human named Nova somewhere in the past.
And
they don't know why. It's been lost to them. But soon they will find out.
And I think it kind of speaks to War for the Planet of the Apes. That Caesar didn't want Nova, really. But he finally comes around to her being there. And I think it just speaks to them eventually having... I mean, she becomes part of... Obviously, Caesar dies, but she becomes part of their clan in a way that's meaningful.
Yeah.
Where that is, it's not just fan, what do you call it? Fan
Service?
service.
Because, like you're saying, there's a whole life that they live after he has passed away that we don't see, where she's been brought into the group. They're all playing Bad Apes, dancing around with her. Yeah. But they've become a family, and who knows what comes of that.
Exactly.
We don't see it. Maybe someday, 40 years from now, they'll show us. But we just know. And as he says, we don't know why. But sort of we call them this. To them, it's not even a name, it's probably a word like echo or something.
Yeah. That's great. We meet Proximus, Caesar.
When I looked up who played him,
Yeah.
I was like, because I didn't look anything up going into it. I was like, that's him.
Yeah. He's great. He's great. And he starts doing his thing. And when he says, now I am Caesar, it was like, no, he's not. I looked to the woman with whom I said that. No, he's not. He's not.
He's bastardizing.
He's
I
bastard.
said. People are like, shh.
But
I am Caesar. Now
he's great.
we can learn from them, huh?
You've got William H. Macy for a nice little couple minutes in there.
Yeah.
Teaching Vonnegut.
The only thing that I really kind of didn't like was the main Nova. May, as we find out. She can talk. She's a secret agent, apparently, the whole time.
Yeah.
And the thing, before we even get into any of that stuff, the thing with these Apes movies is I don't want humans to win.
Yeah.
So there is never any scenario where I'm like rooting for humanity.
The other side of that is that with the other Apes movies, you know that the apes eventually are going to come out on top, and you sort of find out the viruses is sort of dehumanizing them, where it's taking away their ability to talk and all this. So you go, I see it happening and it's inevitable. And then you see humans like Woody Harrelson in one of his best roles ever.
Yeah, he's
like
great.
Trying to fight for humanity. And he's like, I have to do that. Like, I know you can talk in this, but like, I had to kill my son because he had this thing. I have to save the people that like we made you.
Yeah.
There's this whole ethical thing, and we know as viewers they're going to lose. That doesn't mean that Caesar's going to live or that any people. That's the thing, is you care about the apes enough where you're like, I know they eventually win, but I care about the group right now and what happens to them in this fight. There's no guarantee they're going to make it out alive.
Right.
With this, there's that like you're saying, she's kind of fighting and trying to get to the stuff, but it's like, I don't want her to, and they're trying to make me care about her.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, but she's fighting against what we want, which is the apes to like, we want them to get out of captivity of the other apes and like be free. And she's kind of there. I thought it was weird that the second she started talking, I said, I think she's British and trying to do an American accent. And to me, that just took me out of it in a filmmaking way where I was like, they cannot, like, they talk about how there's this like humans used to be able to like talk across the ocean. Like, we know she's living in America, probably has, but I'm like, she sounds like she's trying to do an American accent. So I was like, the way she's talking is weird for what I would assume a human 300 years in the future.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. But then she finally gets what she's looking for in the little bunker, and it's the satcom,
her book.
Yeah, like
it's a
hard drive thing. And then she takes it back to where she's from or whatever, and they have technology. They are like,
and they can all talk.
And they're like operating. Like,
they have electricity,
which is fine. Like, I'm fine with that stuff, I think, because we'll get that. They say they're going to make 9 of these things. So,
what?
Yeah. They said they have a 9 trilogy or a 9 movie arc.
Is that including the 3 Caesars?
This is 4 of 9.
Okay.
So,
because I was like, that's not.
I imagine we'll do it. It'll be like Star Wars.
I thought we were getting at least another trilogy, which is fine because, like you're saying, that's why I was like, it brings up a lot more questions.
Yeah,
I get when the lady walks out of the whatever their little technology hub. I went because I thought it was one of the space. Like, I thought we were getting a someone from space, but it wasn't.
Well, and it seems like they are setting up that we will be going to space. Because Noah saw space through the Griffith Park.
And that scene, like an ape looking through, like you said, the Griffith Park Observatory and seeing the heavens, and he's like looking in the tunnel. He's like, it's a tunnel that eats light.
Yeah.
He's trying to figure out what is going on, what he's looking at.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I hope we get to see these apes
In
go to space.
I really don't want to see that, but it did make me think. I think at the most extreme, yes, we will probably see someone be going to space in the next 5 movies. But
yeah.
also we see May/Nova look through the thing, and that's before we know she can talk and is smart, or before Noah knows that anyway. And he's like, oh, she saw it too. Like she gets it. So it could just be showing like these two are the same. Like they are both infatuated with the sort of wonder of the world, and they're a little more alike than you might be thinking right now because you're mad at her. But she was gonna shoot him. She had a little gun ready. But he was like Caesar. He will not hurt you. It's just great stuff. Also, when she came on screen, I said she has a TikTok face.
Yeah.
She kind of looks a little too modern.
That's what the way she talked and the way she looks like they're an actress they're setting up to be like
the next
thing.
Yeah.
Sort of, where it's just like there's a specific look, and her teeth were so nice.
She needs to look a little
dirty.
more.
She's 300 years in the future where human, but that's what I'm like, well, I guess she lives in, maybe she has a toothbrush. She's wearing like jeans and stuff.
I don't know.
There was some weird stuff there. It's also weird that she was going to just go with Raka to the humans that can't talk. He was just going to take her there until she was just going to go even though she can talk and stuff.
Well, she was trying not to.
Right, but
she didn't want to blow her cover.
At what point was she going to be like, because she's hanging out with all these like invalids.
Yeah.
That he's like, look, people like you.
Yeah.
And she's like, I know.
Yeah.
Do you think when she said Noah, it was supposed to sound like no?
Yeah.
Like it was her talking? Kind of fun.
Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah. Then I found out she can just talk like normal. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, never mind. But also that kind of harkens back to Beneath the Planet of the Apes when Nova finally says, Taylor. She learns.
She's a Swiftie.
Anyway, what do you think of this movie? Where do you place it in the...
I've said it before and I've said it again. If you aren't expecting it to reach the heights of the Caesar trilogy, I think you're in for a good time.
Yeah.
For me, also, I don't know maybe if it was the theater I was in or I was just too close to the biggest screen I could find. Some of the animation didn't look as realistic as the other ones.
Interesting.
And I don't know if I was just like, peeping at it too much.
Yeah, I think you were peeping too hard.
But I was like, well, maybe it's also because there's so much animation in this thing that they had to cut some corners somewhere. I think it looks great. I was just like, when I look at Caesar and he's a real thing, there was a little something here that wasn't hitting the same. But I think it's Weta, right?
Yeah, it is.
Well, they screwed up.
I really don't think so. I think it looks the best of all of them.
Yeah, maybe I was too close to the biggest screen.
CGI wise. Now, nothing will top the sort of visual, because I think this director did well. I think visually, Matt Reeves is obviously just a great visual guy.
That's
some of the stuff in Dawn and War are just so cool. I mean, it looked great, this movie, don't get me wrong, but there's just something... Certain guys know how to put the camera in the right spot where you say, oh, that's good, versus, oh, that's epic. Yeah.
Well, and this director, I know he did the Maze Runner. Like, he's got that, I know how to work with CGI. Yeah. They gave it to someone that could do that, but I don't really know what Matt Reeves had done before that, like...
Yeah, I don't know.
If you give it to someone that is a capable director... I think they give you enough people to work. Like, you're working with Weta, you're working with Andy Serkis, and these people that know what to do.
Yeah.
So he just has to direct the best movie he can, and everything will get filled in afterwards.
I think this guy did great.
I think he did too. But like I think the Nova storyline with her, I don't find her to be compelling.
Yeah.
I found some of it to be confusing in a way that I don't think will be followed up on. Just like, I've got a book that tells where all this stuff is.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what? Like they know about.
Well, they can now communicate with other people.
And there's other people that can talk. I got to figure that out because the other movies took their whole time setting up that humans are slowly unable to communicate. And now we've got this maybe immunity or a fraction of the people. Maybe some of them have to wear those suits that don't have whatever gene that is that would help them.
Yeah.
There's something there.
Well, because I think in Dawn, it's already happening to people, right?
Yeah.
And because
Dawn is
Jason Clarke and them are like, if we had it, we'd already be gone or whatever. Or is that in War? I don't know. Maybe I'm getting my...
Well, War...
I've watched a lot of Apes movies this week, okay?
It's not...
I've watched a lot of Apes.
That's good. Well, I've only watched the 3 in this one. And so what you've got in War, right, is you've got one person can't talk.
Yeah.
They've got person can't talk, then it show Nova, little girl can't talk. And they go, she's like other human, can't talk. And then Woody Harrelson say, my son can't talk. And then he touches a doll, sort of like a smallpox blanket.
Yeah.
And goes,
I forgot. I think I'd only seen that one once.
yeah.
And when I rewatched it, I forgot I knew something, but I couldn't remember what. And when Caesar goes in there and sees him, I was like, oh my God, it's even better than I remembered.
I know, because I was like, well, he just kills him. Then like you, last time I saw it was in theaters because I said, that's enough.
Yeah.
And I bought it.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I watched, but I was like, this is just so great.
Yeah.
So I want to figure that. But I will say in this one, the kind of scene with the water rushing in and them fighting in the water, I don't know how you do that. That looks
so good.
insane.
There's a lot of stuff with the fur that looks even better in this movie than and the other ones look good. But when the Eagle Clan tower burns down and Noah gets kicked off and he wakes up in the ash and there's just ash on his fur, that's a real ape. That is a real ape.
You can't tell us different.
What do you give this movie?
I give this one 7.5.
Interesting.
Because I would probably go Rise from me is an 8, probably, and then the other two are 9s. So this one has to get bumped down because of where the other ones stand for me. Because I do, but I don't know, because Rise, you've got Franco doing the least, and then you've got Felton also kind of doing
it's just weird.
His weird
actors in it.
It just has aged the worst. But going back and watching it,
it's still
and they
great.
cut to the TV and they show the astronauts that are going to Mars, and you go,
it's Taylor.
oh yeah, like I didn't think about that the right time. There's little things in there that just naturally are like filling that in, and him just you just figuring out this guy's trying to save his dad, and it ruins the world. It's just one of those little things.
Yeah.
God.
And that's why we should always have Alzheimer's.
Because of Caesar and because he climbs because he climbs the trees.
Don't ever try to cure it.
This should be a warning call to all of you. It'll cure it for a little bit. That'll play the piano again, but it'll get worse. And you cannot do that.
Caesar.
No. Then he climbs the trees. That's all he's wanted.
Yeah.
They just got the trees. And then at the end of war, what saves them? What saves them from the avalanche? They climb the trees again.
Climb trees.
Those are perfect. This is a 7.5. What do you give it?
I think I go 8.
because it sounds like ape.
Yeah, I'm going to give it an ape out of 10. Rise, yeah, I probably go 7.5 on Rise. I still love it, by God.
So they're kind of...
I think Dawn, I might give a perfect 10. There's nothing in it that's bad. I really don't think there is. It's
those two.
kind of a perfect movie.
I can't figure out which is better of the last two because Dawn is so good, but it's so stressful to watch.
Yeah,
the Koba, like, not human. Koba, and like his son realizing this ape he's trusted.
There's so much going on. That's what I think. Dawn is just a little better as far as There's
you need more to finish that trilogy. Yeah, I think Dawn...
War is kind of like Apocalypse Now, where it's like, this is really good, but also it gets a little boring sometimes.
There's a lot of waiting around. I mean,
but
you're
it's
also
good.
looking at more of the same because you've got Dawn. It's doing a lot of the same thing. Like, well, okay, now they're on the run again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is happening again. It's one of those where it's like, this has to be the last one because they can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
Which is why jumping 300 years in the future is such
perfect. It's a
which
great
I think
idea.
the director said, he's like, I didn't want to do one because Matt Reeves created the best movies of all time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until we decided we could jump that far in time and still have it be a prequel to the original that it made sense to do.
It was a great idea. Oh, this is the last thing I want to say. What this was making me mad again. Every good movie makes me mad about Star Wars because this in particular is like what Rian Johnson and everyone, it's not just him, but what they thought they were doing is what this was doing as far as like playing with the myth of the Jedi and the myth of Luke Skywalker. You could have done something like this. You idiots. You could have jumped into the future farther and just had, I mean, you still can now, I guess, but just, you thought you were so smart, and then the apes come out. The apes come out and do you better again. They just keep doing it. They quietly keep making the best blockbuster entertainment that still makes you think, and it still makes you feel. I love these movies.
How could they do this? The original Planet of the Apes came out so long ago.
1968,
I believe so. And you just, I was talking to someone about this, and there was just these old sci-fi things where there's the idea. They don't quite have...
It's not a perfect execution. Yeah.
And artists think about it and linger on it and go, what is that makes that so compelling? And then to do it, and it's the best, like... You wouldn't think. That's the thing, is when people say, hey, hear me out.
Yeah.
The Planet of the Apes movies from 2011 to 2017 are the best, 3 of the best films you could ever watch.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? And they've added another one. I can't wait for the next one to see what Noah's up to.
Yeah. I do. I think Noah is a good guy to follow.
I think he's a good Proximus Caesar. You know? That's been our Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes review.
Yeah, we probably could just put it out as that.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.